All right. So Meredith, Steve are from Pitching for Baseball and Softball. They're nice enough to join me on this Mad Max cast. I went over in the beginning a little intro on who they are, how we met, and all that fun stuff. So, how is everybody? Meredith, Steve, you guys are safe and healthy during this period of quarantine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
We've been
we're
kind of stuck inside for a while, but we're looking forward to getting back at it soon.
Cool. Meredith, how about you?
we're good. I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm in the office, as you can see, so I come in here every day to hold down the fort. But we're just missing baseball. We want to get back at it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially when this is what our business is centered around. It definitely hurts in every aspect. So, tell me about Pitching for Baseball and Softball. Who are you, and what do you guys do at Pitching for Baseball and Softball?
Well, Pitcher for Baseball and Softball, we were founded in 2005. We're a nonprofit organization that is committed to helping grow the game and increase access to the sport for kids who are underprivileged. Um, when we first started, we were aimed at really just recycling the used equipment that people had laying around their houses and garages. And since then, though, we've morphed quite a bit as the demand for our services have grown and the interest in baseball and softball has grown. So now, we collect both still the used equipment, but we also do a lot with new equipment as well. And we work with manufacturers and such to get that product in. We deliver really four programs. We have a school-based program which works directly with schools and districts to help extend their budgets and to make programmatic improvements by providing the equipment and freeing up budgets to spend the dollars elsewhere. We also have a general grants program, which anyone in the world can go onto our website and request equipment as long as they are meeting our target demographic of underprivileged kids, and then they'll be approved. We also have a disaster relief program, which, when there's a natural disaster that hits and devastates communities, we go in and rebuild those leagues and those teams, because we know that while parents are, dealing with the bills and insurance, kids really just need an outlet and a way to play and be kids during that time of devastation. And lastly, a whole kind of youth engagement philanthropy program where kids who just love the game, are fans of baseball, want to give back. And it's so much easier for parents to engage their kids in something they like than having to twist their arms to get involved in something. So that's kind of our four primary, but we're all aimed at helping to make the game more accessible and connecting people to be able to be a community and help kids play.
Awesome, awesome. That's really good. I mean, I knew what you guys did, but obviously, I think it's definitely beneficial for a lot of people out there that have known the name, see the name, and also want to help. So, if I have stuff laying in my garage, like old baseball bats, old balls, like you guys will take a donation from somebody like myself if I just had stuff laying around in my garage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
We're lucky enough to have two locations where we can collect equipment. Our primary location is in Harleysville, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour north of Philadelphia. That's where all our staff is located, and we can receive equipment either by drop off. So if anybody's within driving distance, they can schedule drop off with us. They can call us or email us from our website. If they're not within driving distance, they can certainly ship it, whether it's UPS, FedEx, or USPS. If someone has a large amount of equipment, they want to ship it and they're worried about costs, we're happy to work with them. We have a great partnership with UPS where we get discounted rates. So if someone is trying to ship 10 boxes and it's going to be a couple $100s, they can reach out to us and we can work with them to allow them to use our discount.
Awesome. Yeah. Then there is
And
no.
our second location is actually in LA.
Okay.
That space is actually funded by the Dato Foundation, another great partner. And that's been over the past couple of years, and it's been great having a spot on the West Coast where, that just, expands our reach. So we've received so much equipment from out there, and it's been a major helping us, make a bigger impact.
All right. So East and West, there is no excuse to be on the lookout for Pitching for Baseball. So you said about the brands. Who do you guys deal with as far as brands go?
Well, we work with all brands, and actually, I think that's how you and we got
Yes. Yeah.
connected to begin with, right? One of our primary partners is Wilson Sporting Goods, and we are really fortunate to have some board representation on our board. But Marco, our mutual friend of ours, just felt like you guys are such a great company, and he really, loves us, and felt like we could work well together. And so this has been fantastic too. So Wilson, Rawlings, Easton, Under Armour, Diamond Sports, all are generous donors of ours, and also in addition to that, help give us exclusive rates and exclusive terms to help really as one of their charitable vehicles for their company.
That's cool.
So we work with them all. We don't really, we really are driven more by cost, because we want to make sure that we can have the greatest impact that we possibly can for children.
So if it's like the similar product versus like this Wilson ball glove or this Rollins ball glove, and they're equal ball gloves, it's the one that's more beneficial to the program, right? Is what you would go with.
Yes, the cost-effective nature, but I will say we also balance out durability. So there might be two companies that have the same price point on a glove, but maybe one is part synthetic and the other one is 100% leather. In those cases, we would go the one with a little more durability, just because we know, especially when we're sending them to more of the remote locations internationally, that it has to be able to sustain and endure the weather. So and the elements. So we balance lots of things. Cost is the primary driving force though, but we want to make sure that kids can have those gloves and that equipment for years to come.
That's great to know that if it comes down to it, you guys are going to go with the better one. So that's actually that's really good. Yeah, this has been out of like 30 recordings of a podcast. Marco got a mention in 3 of them. So like nobody else is even up in that type of category. So are you guys receiving any help from MLB? I know MLB could be a big driving force, especially in the baseball industry. Are you guys receiving any help from them?
We started actually working with Major League Baseball back in 2008. That was our very first partnership with them, and it was really designed to help grow their RBI program at the time. We did take a little bit of a hiatus, and we reconnected back in 2016, and the work since 2016 has been much more focused and strategic. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we've together donated nearly, or I should say more than $800,000 worth of equipment. Steve, do you remember, what is it, like how many leagues? 900 teams, nearly $800,000 equipment all across the country. And that's really driven by where MLB has an interest in expanding their new leagues. But in addition to that, though, we work with about a dozen MLB clubs too. So between MLB and the clubs, there's definitely a lot of opportunity when you consider that we have a shared vision and a shared goal, and they want to get more kids playing because obviously it helps them for the short term and the long term. But in addition to that, just more kids playing ball means good things for all of us, right?
Absolutely. So true.
And that's one of the things we're excited to get back to is we have about 50 team kits packed up, ready to go. Just they're sitting in our warehouse. We're getting ready to ship them out. We just have to wait for the leagues to get back up and running. So that's probably going to be one of the first things we jump back onto once, things clear up a bit.
That's good to know. That's good to know that at least MLB is helping you guys out, that it's kind of a collective, kind of agreement there. So what has been some of the biggest highs for Pitching for Baseball? I think I know one of them, but what's been some of the biggest highs for Pitching for Baseball?
Sure.
I feel like there's a lot. There's too many, right, Steve? But why don't you pick yours first?
Yeah, my favorite story we got back is from the Minnesota area. I give this example on pretty much every phone call I have with a grantee to kind of show them what we're looking for to, in terms of hearing an impact story. So we started working with the Twins back in 2015. It's one of the first groups we worked with, that I worked with in terms of a funded donation. So those donations went to help softball and baseball programs in Minneapolis and St. Paul. After the season wrapped up in 2017, we got a story back from a softball program. It was about a girl. She was high school level using a very small old glove it was not safe. It wasn't playable for that level. She received a glove donation from us, and or through the donation, she received a glove. And at the end of the year, she was awarded Defensive Player of the Year. So they sent us that story and then a photo of her with her plaque and her glove. And that was just one of my favorite stories that we've received back over my time here. And it just stood out because it's amazing how much just one item can impact a player. And a glove's very important because you can't play without it. But it just, really turned her season around, and, she's able to play, and it was safe and didn't have to worry about, trying to catch a softball with like a T-ball glove. So that was my favorite story that we've ever gotten back from a program.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good story.
Well, I think there's just too many to share. I think just as in terms of, like, from my perspective, I would just say I do probably the bulk of the traveling for the organization. So I've been fortunate to be able to experience some things with the team at times, but outside of the team as well. Whether it's the Dominican Republic or whether it's Puerto Rico, there's really something to be said about going to these communities where, like, baseball is life. Just the way that it's celebrated, and just you can feel it in their hearts, right? From watching, my favorite project of all times is in Puerto Rico, and we've been back there twice since. But our first project was a couple of years ago, right after Hurricane Maria had hit, and we did a disaster relief program in tandem with Little League there. We distributed, we packed on site, our whole team went. So we, out of Deporte Salvador Colon, which is also a Marco connection, we were able to ship everything there, and they were fantastic hosts. We packed everything there. 175 team kits were distributed out to local little leagues, and we had the chance to donate and deliver some of it in person. And as I was standing there with the equipment, getting ready to do the presentation, I kind of looked over and I saw this. He couldn't have been more than like 4 years old, and his hand-eye coordination, he just tossed the ball up and he just whacked it. And I was like, at this time, I have little girls at home, and I was thinking to myself, like, my daughter doesn't have that hand-eye coordination, but you can just tell, like, they are swinging that ball or swinging that bat and hitting that ball right at the earliest age. And it's really just being in the space that we're in, Max. There's just nothing better than watching the game embraced and loved the way that we do, right?
Absolutely.
That's so the visual of anytime we get to see that.
I saw a visual of a little guy who's probably like 3-4 years old, just like getting grounders and like throwing it like, I don't know, 50, 60 feet, like perfectly. It was amazing. So that was really cool to see, kind of like firsthand.
Well, my favorite pitching for baseball story has to be the Zach Hampel story, because I'm a Yankee fan. Anybody we here want to say, I don't want to say it because I'm not part of pitching for baseball, but that's my favorite baseball story.
Well, that's actually a really cool story, and that's a favorite of mine as well, because for lots of reasons. I think it was just, many will remember when Zach caught or snagged A-Rod's 3,000th hit home run, and there was a period of time where he wasn't really sure, what he was going to do with it. I mean, he is a collector, and this is what he gets excited about. It's a milestone ball, and it's something, as a collector, I can imagine you just want to keep it near and dear to you, right? But he also understood the magic and the value of him, what he could do if he leveraged that ball for a donation for a charity that he cares about. And he's been working with us for at least 6 or 7 years, and it was incredibly generous of him to give back that ball. And Pitching for Baseball and Softball got a really large donation from the Yankees. It was $150,000. We did turn that around and invest it in local programs in the Bronx. So that one event, that one ball, opened up 4 years of partnership with the Yankees, and it's just amazing on so many fronts. The most PR and media that we've ever gotten. We got to meet A-Rod. We got to see him in person, and the living and breathing person, and all of it was really pretty surreal.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
But we've been able to help nearly 100 teams in the Bronx because of that donation.
Just that one home run ball.
Yeah, it's pretty
Exactly.
amazing. I mean, with our relationships with manufacturers and how we can kind of, extend those budgets and stretch those dollars further. I mean, it's amazing what we're able to do with that donation. And the Yankees have been a great partner, and Zach continues to support us. And we just think it's a win-win all around. But it was pretty amazing.
That's a great story. So I know we talked about pitching for baseball in the beginning, but just circle back. How many people actually work at pitching for baseball that went to this Puerto Rico trip? If you know off the top of your head.
Well, we have 7 staff right now, 5 full-time, 2 part-time. But back when we did the project in Puerto Rico, we were what were we, a staff of 5. So unfortunately, when that happens, one Lone Ranger gets left behind to hold down the fort. So 4 of us went, and 1 of us stayed to hold down the fort. But so it was really kind of a cool team building activity too, because a lot of us said we'd not had the opportunity to spend that much time together and kind of work in this way. And it was just, I don't know, as cheesy as it is, it was just kind of magical all around.
That's interesting. Because you guys definitely are kind of more. You guys do so much. You think like, oh, this has to be a staff of like hundreds of people, but only 5 to 7 people. That's amazing work. Really is. So, who would you say is your target audience? Who's pitching for baseball's target audience?
Steve, is that you or me?
I think it's you.
Oh, sorry about that. We're going to edit that one right out, right? So pitching for baseball and softball, we serve children that are economically disadvantaged, 18 and under. But we do have 2 exceptions, and that is programs for the military. We will support any military group that comes to us. Many people might not know it, but baseball and softball are actually a really great time, or a really it's a vehicle to pass time on the bases. And many have inter-base leagues and play. And it's something that, folks might not be aware of, but this is what goes on. So whenever we get requests for military groups, we absolutely will support them. The other exception is programs that serve individuals with disabilities. We recently supported a group, a couple, 2 Miracle, or a Miracle League down in Florida, and then a couple of Challenger leagues as well. We really just, we want to make the game. We never want equipment to be the barrier to play and participation for anyone, and we will do our best to meet those needs.
Yeah. So anybody listening, that's what pitching for baseball. That's their target audience. So what are you guys more focused on, the beginners level or the high school levels?
It's really a range. I'd say our partners, for the most part, for the partnership programs, they often dictate or determine where the focus of the program is going to be. So I'd say out of our funded partnerships, it's a 50-50. The Mets, what we do with them, folks might not know, but they support 2 programs with us each year. This year was down in Port St. Lucie, where, they have spring training, and then also in New York City. They invest more than $150,000 in us each year for programming. So they're a great community partner, but their focus is specifically on, they want to support the 12 and under groups. So T-ball to 12 and under, and it's great. We have other partners in the Reds and the Twins and the Yankees that they really do more school-based programs. So those are high school focused. There are needs across the board, and we do try to provide guidance to partners if they're looking at a specific community but don't have folks in mind. We'll give guidance as to who maybe could be recipients, but I'd say it's an even split between the youth-based and the older kids, for sure. And our organic grants, the ones that go onto our website and just request equipment, I'd say those are more all-encompassing. Wouldn't you say, Steve, that they're really from the T-ball all the way up to the senior age? But you can speak
Absolutely.
more to that.
Yeah, we see a lot of high schools, a lot of middle schools, and then a lot of rec programs, whether they're little leagues or RBIs, that focus more on, probably T-ball to age 15 or so. It's all over the place. There's a need across the board.
And what would you say is the biggest need that you see out there? As far as
the biggest need?
Yeah.
In terms of equipment? I would say the equipment that we see requested the most would be definitely baseballs and softballs, and then gloves. You can play a game technically with one bat. You can't play with one glove. So, you need at least 9 to play a game. So gloves are probably the most requested item. And then baseballs and softballs, it's amazing how fast a team can go through, even a dozen baseballs, because, just they get a lot of wear and tear. So those would probably be the top ones. Anything essential to the game, catcher's gear, helmets, bats, balls, it's all highly requested, and it's definitely needed across the board from our groups. And also anything softball related, that's something we've been focusing on collecting, and it's, more difficult for us to get in. So that's definitely a focus as well. And that, softball groups, that equipment's even more expensive than baseball in a lot of areas. So it's definitely a need of our grantees.
Yeah, have you guys seen the growth of softball for I know it's pitching for baseball, and then there's obviously softball too. Have you guys seen the growth in the softball market as well?
Absolutely. That's been a major focus of ours over the past 3 years or so. When we were created, we had a primary focus on baseball. We were pitching for baseball. In 2017, our board of directors made a decision to kind of fold softball into our name. So we became pitching for baseball and softball. And then since then, before that, we were, 10, 15%, in terms of our donations related to softball. At this point, we've increased over the past couple of years, and we're at more of a 60-40 split. And, we're trying to make a bigger impact. Softball is just as important as baseball. And we've been very happy with our growth, but, we're looking to do more. A lot of our softball, grants are a little bit smaller because we have some trouble getting some softball equipment in. So that's a huge focus of ours moving forward, is collecting more softball gear so we can make a bigger impact on those programs.
And Max, I think it's also worth noting just the growth trajectory that we've had over the last 6 years. 6 years ago, we were hovering about 150 projects that we were doing annually, helping 35,000 kids play ball. At the end of 2019, we were exceeding 630 projects for the year, and close to 100,000 kids playing ball. So you could just see over the 6 years, just the growth. Our programs have more than quadrupled or nearly quadrupled in the programming. And then in terms of the number of kids served, you can see where the growth has been. So the demand is greater. And I will say, our budget has grown and our donations have grown, but we still say that we could probably empty out our warehouse once a day or once a week and still not be able to meet the demand. And that's why we just keep trying to plow forward, because we know the demand is there and the need is there and the interest is there. And we just want to be able to help as many kids play.
Well, I think you guys are going to see quite the demand once this is kind of all over. I think everybody's going to be ready to play baseball/softball out there. So I'm sure you guys get a million requests. And how would somebody go about doing that? I've been on your website, meeting the criteria, I know, and all that stuff. Can you walk us through, if I was hey, my league, I think, would be up for this, pitching for baseball, softball. What do I do?
So anybody in the world is, welcome to go onto our on our website and complete an application. So you just go to PIFBS.org and hit the request equipment tab and fill out the appropriate application. From there, either myself or our coworker Chris will go on, or we'll schedule a phone call, have some communication to vet the application. So, like Meredith said, we're looking to serve under-resourced kids. So if there's a program that, they don't charge a league fee, or they can only charge, $50 or so because, the kids their families can't afford it, they're definitely in our wheelhouse. But Chris and I, we go through a vetting process. We have a conversation with them, see who they are, what they're in need of. If they're really in need, we get travel groups that apply, throughout the year. And, those obviously aren't our focus because, they're paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They're traveling, going, to different states and playing, overnight trips and things like that. So that's not our focus, but we find that out during our phone call and our communications with them. And, once they're approved, we're able to provide them with a list of what we can provide as a donation. And then, we go from there. But really, as long as they're serving under-resourced kids, those are the groups we want to work with.
And each group that receives equipment from us does complete an impact report at the end of their season, and that's also a requirement because our donors, we're accountable to them, and we want to be able to share with folks how their dollars are making a difference and how their investment is making a difference. So those groups do have to agree to complete that report as well. So if that's not something that they feel like is reasonable, then that would also maybe change their eligibility.
Gotcha. And it's like a one-time thing. It's not like they need to reapply the next year for it, right?
We are an annual application process. The equipment grant they get is every group can apply for one per year.
Okay.
And going back to what I was saying about how we joke that we could empty our warehouse weekly, unfortunately for us, we're never able to meet anyone's request 100%. And that's just the reality of it. I mean, some groups come to us, they have, 50 teams in their league,
Yeah.
and there's no way that we have enough here that we can donate to that one specific group, because we have to kind of factor out what our entire year is going to look like, unfortunately. And we're so dependent on inventory. So it's an annual application, and we know since we're not meeting their needs that when they come back to us next year, they'll still have needs. And it's okay, and we're okay with that. The only exception is, let's say a group is a beneficiary of a funded program, and we do have some partners that want to select 2 to 3 groups that they want to support fully. And so those 3 leagues, let's say, get full equipment of everything they ask for, right? Then that group would be exempt from applying again for any more gear, because we know their needs were met. So we really want to make sure, and we're balancing out what the resources are to make sure that as many kids are being helped as possible.
All right. Very informative. This has been great. I've learned a lot. I feel like I can pitch the Pitching for Baseball story to anybody. So I'm sure you guys this time of year, a lot of people like myself are cleaning out their house. They're finding old gear and stuff like that. How do they go about doing that? I know we said it in the beginning, but just to circle back, like, hey, I found all these gloves. I've had like my 4 kids in the house. I have 20 gloves. How can I donate them? Do I just drop them off to you if I'm in the local area, or do I have to go ship it?
So yeah, if you're within driving distance, we would love to have you come out, drop off. We can give you a tour of our warehouse and kind of explain, what we're up to and, recent projects, things like that. We always love to meet our donors. So if you're within driving distance, please reach out. We can schedule a drop off. We're, typical hours, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We are open occasionally on the weekend to accommodate drop-offs. So we're flexible there. But yeah, we would love to have donors come out, drop off. If they can't make the drive, they can contact us for assistance on shipping it to us. Because we have that discount with UPS. We're more than happy to work with them on that.
Awesome.
But just one tiny little asterisk, though, for the time being, because of the closures due to COVID-19, we are technically closed, our offices, but as I mentioned at the beginning of our call, I'm here every day, so folks can feel free to ship their gear right now, and we can receive that just fine at either one of the warehouses. They can ship to. If they, again, as Steve had mentioned earlier, if it's a larger quantity that they want to ship, I am here. They can call the office, or they could reach out to info@PIFBS.org and ask us about accessing the discount and facilitating the donation. But until we get the all clear from the governor, we're shipping only.
Absolutely. Yeah. Under normal circumstances, you guys will lay out the red carpet. That's good to know. So
Absolutely.
have you seen, obviously not busy during this time, but have you seen a little bit of an uptick of some people at least inquiring what to do with their old gear, or not really?
I've gotten a good amount of inquiries from leagues that are in this situation. I mean, of course, right now we're just not, the future is so uncertain. Youth leagues don't know if they're going to start up this year or not. But regardless of that, they do need to clean out their storage sheds. So I've gotten a good amount of inquiries, and most folks that are local to us, they're just holding off until we can open up and they can drop off. But it does seem like it's the trend for sure. I mean, I'm doing it myself in my own house. My kids are scared every day because I'm like, we're cleaning today. I'm like, darn it, what am I going to throw out today? So yeah, it's that time, right?
So do you guys work with, I know we said MLB, do you guys work with any president or older MLB players? Because that does seem like once an MLB player kind of comes on board, helps things out, it kind of does carry a little bit of weight. I don't know if you can agree with that or say that, hey, yeah, we've had success with this MLB player. What's that been like?
We've done projects with a handful of MLB players, whether they were active at the time or now currently retired. And I think that the benefit of retired players is that they have more time to be thinking about charitable projects, of course. But the active players, we do find that the younger ones want to find a way to leverage their influence and their social media to be able to do more good. I think that's a really tremendous thing about these young ball players is that they're very charitably minded. So a couple of, one of my favorite stories is this, is Mauricio Dubon. He's now with the Giants, and he has actually been doing projects with us since he was a minor league player. And he's, jumped around to various clubs, and he's been with us the whole time. We work with his agency, MVP Sports. We plan on an annual donation to Honduras every year. And it's really amazing what we're able to do together. He hands it out personally. He takes lots of pictures. He takes video. So it feels like we're right there with him. And it just is, it's so great because he's such a fantastic person to see him make it from the minors to the majors. So he's fantastic. But my other favorite personal with a player was with Dylan Betances when we went to the Dominican Republic with him. He really wanted to do a project in this really tiny town of Banao. And it is not easy to get to, but it is, again, I keep using the word magical because it truly is. We had enough equipment for 75 kids and easily 150 kids showed up. And it really is the level of gratitude and appreciation. It's just overwhelming. But a little kind of fun fact about the Dominican is that it is, where baseball is life, but things like catcher's equipment is nearly impossible to buy on the island. So when we were doing this project, that was the primary request from these groups. And Dylan really worked very closely with the league to figure out what they needed and that we were able to provide gear that would match them. So that was really, really tremendous to watch and to see him with the kids and interact and hand it out himself. So not a ton of projects by any means, but I feel like the ones that we've been able to do have been really meaningful.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a good point. You speak about like the gratitude on the kids' faces. That's what it really good feel good. So anybody listening to this during this time, I'm sure they're feeling good with these stories because I know I'm feeling pretty good. So what does the future hold for pitching for baseball, softball? I know obviously due to tough economic times with the coronavirus and stuff like that this year, the baseball year, at least in our area, March, April, and May, looks like it's going to be a wash. So what does the future hold? What are future plans? And how do we kind of grow and keep spreading the word as far as pitching for baseball?
I don't know if you've caught any of these articles or not, Max, but there's been a significant amount of thought and research into what youth sports, the landscape of youth sports will look like post-COVID-19. And we knew that the economic need was there before coronavirus hit. And given the economic crises and how people are struggling now, we only anticipate that those needs will continue to grow. And all the, right now the inclination is that the movement is going to be away from pay to play and revert back, go back to youth community-based organizations for a number of reasons. It's the cost. It's the sense of community. We all feel so disconnected from people right now. Let's get back to being with our neighbors and our friends and our families. And so the real big question is, our league's going to be able to meet the potential influx of participants, just in terms of scale with coaches, fields, and that sort of thing. But in addition to that, are they going to be able to meet the needs of the players and the kids who last year were able to afford the registration fees, but this year are in a different boat? So for us, where our headspace really is now is thinking about how we can continue to leverage resources so that we can be best positioned to help any and all groups that are kind of suffering and recovering from this COVID-19 damage. So that's where our headspace is. We know that groups will need us more than ever, and we want to be there.
Awesome. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. So anybody that's looking to donate any gear, anybody that's looking for any help, obviously, if they're listening to this and going, my league might, be in line with this, where can they check them out again, Steve? Where are you guys located on Instagram, website? Plug Pitching for Baseball now.
We're all over the place. Our website is PIFBS.org. And then you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook by searching Pitching for Baseball and Softball. Meredith, do you have the exact handles?
I'm terrible. Pitching base, no. PIFBS.
I'll do it in the intro. I'll do it in the intro. I'll give, and then also
terrible.
In this show bio, I'll put a link right to the website. So anybody listening to this that says,
perfect.
Oh, hey, I have gear that I'm looking to donate and stuff like that. And you guys are obviously, you said baseball, softballs, anything, gloves, whatever, bats. Do the bats have to be legal? That might be a good question from somebody, because
that is a great question and one that we get all the time.
I'm sure.
So what we look for bats in terms of the stamps, anything USA Baseball, that's fine. That's the newest stamp.
Yeah.
We'll also take bats that have recently gone out of date. The USSSA 1.15 BPF, those are all usable as long as they're not cracked or have dents or anything like that. That's fine. Bats from 30 years ago are a little bit harder for us to use, but the bats that just went out of date and then the new standard we can absolutely take. And softball, those standards haven't really changed in a while, so most softball bats that we receive are pretty usable. So not too much to look out for there.
All right. Awesome. All right. So there it is, guys. Anybody looking, I would say definitely I give my stamp of approval to these guys here and check them out. And Meredith and Steve, thanks for joining me. And I know everything went very smoothly, so I appreciate you guys coming on. This was your first podcast, Meredith. Now you're going to do a lot of these, I'm sure.
Yeah, I listened to my first one. Your one with Kelsey Stewart. That was my first one ever.
I won't ask you if they make a movie about you, who would play you. Kelsey, she liked that question. So.
Oh, wait, what was that?
Kelsey, the final question I asked her, I said, if they make a movie about you, right, about the Olympic team, which actress would play you?
Well, what was her answer?
She said Beyonce, but that's because they call her Beyonce. She said they call her Beyonce. That's like her nickname on the team.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't. Interesting. We know that Steve. Do you watch The Good Place? Steve's gonna kill me. Do you watch that show ever? The Good Place.
Yes, I've seen the show. Yes.
We joke that Steve is cheaty. In a really good way. In a really good way. He's my favorite character, and we'll edit that one out too, Steve. Okay.
No, that one's in there. All right. Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll see you guys soon. All right.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Max. You have a good rest of your day.
Yep. You too.